guys, Donna here with Author Chat, and today's guest is Kerri O'Connor. This is part two of our interview about Wake, Make, and Meditate, and we'll be discussing other topics as well. So sit back and enjoy.
It's different. So I have to ask you, since we're talking about your publishing journey, so how did you get signed with Llewellyn? I mean, everybody. I know so many indies that would just.
This is kind of crazy. Okay, so I had my agent. And my agent and another woman had started their company together. My agent decided she was going to leave and she was going back into the publishing world. She had been an editor at like Random House or something, and she decided she was going to go back into the actual publishing world, didn't want to be an agent anymore. So it was a very small office at the time. When my agent left, the intern was promoted up to a new agent. They gave me her as my agent.
Okay.
And I did up had gone to Llewellyn's submission procedures, and I did up the proposal precisely how they said they wanted it. I sent it to this new agent of mine, and she ripped apart the proposal. And she said she wanted me to do all this other stuff, and I said, that's not what they said they wanted. And I'm more the type who's going to probably go with what the publisher says they want than a third party.
Right. I mean, of course.
And it just ended up with me saying, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out. I didn't feel comfortable with her, and I left the agency. I turned around, I submitted the exact same proposal to Llewellyn, and they bought my book.
Awesome. So you basically put yourself out there, and you accomplished what a lot of authors want to do, and they're still trying to struggle to do.
Yeah, it's proposals are incredibly important. They are make it or break it. If you have a decent proposal, you can get in. Not having a good proposal isn't ever going to do you any good. I have sold many of my books off of a proposal.
Okay, so you're published through Llewellyn, and you've worked in the bookstore. Do you see the publishing industry? I mean, you've been in with it for a long time, and you've seen changes. Do you still see changes coming?
The changes that I see that will be coming are they're going to be more on the sales end than I think anything else. I know that people like to say, "Oh, we're going to get rid of books. There's never going to be paper books."
No.
And that's not true. People are always going to buy paper books, and books are a very huge gift item, especially at the holidays to begin with. You don't give somebody an ebook.
No.
You don't. You can't wrap it. And people like to wrap things because they want to see somebody open something. Books are never going to die. This did hit a lot of the publishers hard because the distribution, for starters. So many bookstores are closed down, and it would be nice to think that everybody who was going to go into the bookstore would go online and order and do curbside pickup or do this, and they don't. They simply don't. And they could. They really could. That's kind of, I'm going to say, I could go off on a whole thing about the people saying, oh, we need to open small business. No, you don't. They're already open. There's a bunch of businesses already open that you can do curbside. And if you were really trying to support them, that's what you would be doing instead of screaming for them to open. But then you just
like wake up and pay attention. So have you what kind of, besides the cannabis books, have you thought of any other projects that you want to work on or that you are currently working on?
I'm doing the kids book. We actually, Lauren is doing the illustrations for that, and she is going to be working on those this week. which hopefully means we'll be submitting really soon. I've got the text part done, the proposal's all done, except for throwing in her bio and attaching some illustrations, so that's ready to go. She and I are actually working on a lot together. One of our other projects is a Wake, Bake, and Meditate Oracle deck.
Okay.
And I'm also working on a Wake, Bake, and Meditate guided journal.
Okay.
And eventually, I want to do it's a witchy book from New Orleans, but kind of different than what, it's not going to be a cozy mystery.
Okay.
There's a lot of cozy mysteries that take place in New Orleans. It won't be cozy.
Okay. And you also have a CBD book you're working on too.
Yes,
right?
and I'm yeah.
I mean, I know you got a lot on your plate.
Book.
I know you have a lot on your plate. I think the fiction. I think if you dabble in the fiction book though, that would help you, just because it takes you out of your norm just a little bit.
It's kind of my escape, and I don't get to write on it as often as I should.
Mm-hmm.
I should say I don't get to. I don't write on it as often as I should. And when it's hard to, it's really hard to sometimes, because seriously, when I start writing about New Orleans and I'm not there, it hurts. It just hurts. It gets painful, and it makes me want to go back so bad. And I hope I can go in October.
It's been 11 years since I've been. This past week, it was 11 years.
We realized the other day, today is my oldest grandchild's birthday. So tomorrow is the 9-year anniversary of my first trip to New Orleans. Then there was a few years that I didn't get to go at all. And then we went again. And then I got cancer. But we counted. I've been 8 times in the past 9 years.
Wow. Okay.
So
it's almost
for having, several years that I couldn't go at all, it's not too shabby.
No, not at all.
The past few years, it's been like twice a year, but this year I was only going to go the one time because I plan on staying for a week.
And things changed again.
Well, no, I still have my Airbnb. I have
Okay.
not canceled my Airbnb as of yet. I'm waiting to see what happens.
I mean, I don't blame you.
Things are more normalized in October. I don't know that they will be, but if they are, I have book signings there. I actually got contacted this morning about, you want to come and do a book signing at another store in New Orleans?
Nice.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be there in October as long as everything goes okay. And I really want to be able to do something.
Oh, I know. I understand. I completely understand. So what do we need to know about Kerri? I mean, I know Kerri, but what would you think people should know? We know you're married because we saw Mike.
That's Mike, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is there to know about Kerri?
You got fur babies.
Yes. At the time, I have three babies. None of them are in here, surprisingly enough. Morgane is our current oldest, and she would be, I have to do the backwards math, 12. 12? Wait, no. She's going to be 13 this year.
Okay.
Celebrate her birthday on Midsummer. So Midsummer, she will be 13. Farina is 10. And Gawain, we don't really know how old.
He just showed up.
Yeah. They guesstimated him at 6. So that's what we're saying, he's 6.
We had a cat show up, and we named him Tadak because he just showed up. And we took him to the vet, and they thought he was 7, and we had him for a year and a half, and he got sick. It turns out he was about 17. So yeah, he was our little guy. He was great. But back to you. So the place that you live currently is not the same place you grew up in, because you
No,
grew up in a different town.
it's very different. In some ways, it's very different. In some
But
ways,
it's
it's not.
still kind of quiet and rural.
Where I grew up at that time, it's nothing like that now, but where I grew up, within the 2 blocks of our street, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, there were 5 houses, 6 houses.
Okay.
Both sides of the road, there was a total of 6 houses within 2 blocks. One of those houses was ours. One of the houses was my aunt and uncle and my cousins. That was right next to us. There was an empty lot in between us, and then my cousins and uncle and aunt lived next to them, or to the lot. On the other side of them were my grandparents. So we grew up around a lot of my mom's family.
Okay.
And there was grass in the middle of the road. It was a dirt road that had grass growing up the middle of it.
Okay.
And it wasn't like commune-ish, but it kind of would have been close now if you think, I mean, my cousins babysat us and we would just kind of like run back and forth all the time. But I mean, it wasn't like a commune type thing. It just kind of feels like it could have been, but it wasn't. And then eventually, you know, they started building other houses in the neighborhood. And my backyard when I was a kid, we had 5 acres of land. And there
Wow.
was nothing behind us but field. We had our own backstop for baseball. My dad
Mhm.
put up his own backstop for the kids to play baseball, and we just huge open space. And we would go hiking through the trees where the woods were and stuff. And we kind of I've done a little bit like that here. This was when I met Mike 20 years ago. There were no trees. There were like 5 trees total. And
Wow.
the whole thing was mowed. We have 2.5 acres, and the whole thing was just mowed. And I've changed that. We have lots
And
of
what do you have in your backyard?
we have a lot actually. We have
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
we have the spiral labyrinth, which it's just a big spiral labyrinth, but it's really pretty. It looks like a park area. Really, there's benches. There's a little fire pit. There's the Great Barber. We've got lots of solar lights. There's the world's greatest swing that you can swing in the tree, and it holds like 700 pounds. So
Wow.
people can all climb on it together. It's cool. There's a hammock. There's a fountain. There's outdoor speakers, so you can hook up your tunes. And that's part of what I have back there. This year, with everything being not happening, we've had the opportunity to start working on some other improvements that I wanted to do. And Mike was actually out there today with, he got one of those, what you call it, a landscape roller to smooth out all the dirt, because we dug up a lot of dirt and filled in holes and took out tree stumps because we are putting up a new maypole area out in the back. It'll be a much larger maypole and a larger maypole area. We have 2 ritual areas. The one is under construction because with all the flooding over the years and just erosion in general, a lot of tree roots have started coming up in the ritual area. So we have dirt that we dug up and we have to lay that all down yet and smooth that out to cover everything back up. So it's safe, you're not tripping over it. But that ritual area is also a little bit smaller, and it has a bonfire area with a little campfire, and there's a lord and lady back there, and it's really pretty. But it's smaller. And our group, we've had this group now for 17 years. And it goes through phases where sometimes we have 4 members, sometimes we have 40 members.
Wow.
And with the past few years, with the way the rain has been terrible, we haven't been able to really use that back space that much. And I have a ritual area in the house, so we've used that, or we've used this other spot in the backyard. And I decided this year, you know what? I'm just going to turn it into another larger ritual space. So we've been working on that. That's almost done. I gotta fill a hole because the chickens decided to take a dirt bath in it the other day and put a nice crater in the ground, because that's what they do.
So do you consider yourself a high priestess?
No, I used to.
Okay.
I used to. Over the years, I have studied a lot of different things. When people say, how did you become pagan? It all began when I was 16 years old and started playing with a Ouija board.
Okay.
That was really the breakthrough. I had issues with people at the church that I was raised in for many, many years. A big part of the issue I had with people that were at the church that I was raised in is they were selling drugs to my brother.
That might be an issue, yeah.
Yeah. There was a restaurant in Zion many years ago. It's gone out of business since, but they were owned by two of the largest, most, I don't want to say popular, but you know, it's not, popular is not the word I'm looking for.
Frequented?
They were, you know, I mean, the families, they were just very large in the community. You know, they were big in
Connected.
the church. Connected, yeah. One of the sons was a Zion City commissioner.
Yeah, connected.
Yeah, so I mean, there was just, they were very well known, and they were drug dealers. And my brother worked there for several years and ended up in rehab because of it. And now I write about weed, which is odd. And this is the thing is, my brother started doing drugs by taking, can you guess what? Guess, 1984. Can you guess what would have been his gateway into heavy drugs? I
Sudafed?
guarantee you it was not weed.
Sudafed?
You're kind of close.
Tylenol 3,
It was not a pain medication.
Valium?
It was not a prescription medication.
Okay.
It was something you could go, and I think you probably still can go and buy it right off the counter. If it's
Sudafed just keeps rattling in my head, and I know it's not that.
Nope.
So, I don't know.
Dexatrim.
Okay, diet pills. Yeah. Well, they took out some of the drugs. I remember I had a really wicked allergy problem, and it was turning into a sinus thing. And so my boyfriend got me Drexoral. This is like 1987. And I had taken Drexoral twice. And I came home, and my mother was just like, are you high? I'm like, no, I'm taking cold medicine. You look high.
I'm on cold medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's stuff back in the 80s.
He started taking, he was a very chunky boy.
Mm-hmm.
And at 14 years of age, he started taking Dexatrim. Dexatrim led to speed, led to cocaine.
I can see, I had a boss back in the late 90s. You remember when they had the green tea diet pills?
Yes.
And you remember when they discontinued them? He opened up his briefcase one morning and he's like, if you happen to see these out at the grocery store or at the store, buy them for me because they're discontinuing them and I need them. And I'm like, dude, you are so hopped up on
Were
this.
those like filled with epinephrine?
Yeah, they were epinephrine. So he was just, and I mean, you could see he was jittery and all.
It's scary stuff. And
yeah.
So, I mean, I grew up in a house where my brother went to drug rehab. I clearly remember, and I say something in the book about it. See, the Quincy episode where kids smoked weed and they died. Well, it turns out in the episode they smoked laced weed, and that's why they died. But I was a kid, and my parents said, oh, no, they smoked weed and they died. Doesn't mean as a teenager I didn't try it finally. I mean, I didn't for years. I was the good kid. I was the one driving all my friends home when they were drinking. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't doing nothing. And I also wrote about in the book the first time I got high, and people who were there wish they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly did the whole just say no. And I finally tried it in college and it did absolutely nothing for me.
And
But
friends would tease me and, oh, come on, every now, but it wasn't like hard peer pressure because
right.
they knew that I was the one who was going to be taking them home.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like, I'll never forget, I got a phone call on Christmas Eve at 10:30 at night, my senior year of high school. And I'm like, okay, just stay there. It's okay. I'll be right there. Okay. All right. Stay there. Goodbye. And I run in my room, grab my keys. I start running out the door. And my dad's like, where do you think you're going? And I said, I got to go pick somebody up. And he's like, it's 10:30 on Christmas Eve. And I said, yeah, but they're drunk. I need to go and pick them up. And my dad, oh my gosh, he was so mad at me. But I went and picked him up and drove them to the liquor store so that they could get more alcohol and then took them back home. But I didn't tell my parents that's what I was doing. It was a grown man. This was a 37-year-old man who called and said, hey, I'm drunk. Can you go take me to the liquor store? It was one of my friend's uncles. I'm like, yeah, I'll take you. I mean, it wasn't just the kids who counted on me. There were grown-ups who counted on me. It was Christmas Eve. It was his first year separated or divorced from his wife and kids, and he didn't get to have the kids. And he wanted to be drunk. I didn't blame him. I understood that.
Sometimes you need to get, sometimes you need to get past it. So, what do you like to do when you're not writing?
I've been reading a lot lately because I haven't for so long. The past few years, I started using the Goodreads reading challenge, and I think the first year I did like 25 books, and the second year I may have hit 35. And hi, Kitty!
Chloe.
And last year I did 50, and so this year I said I'm going to do 75, and this has been great for me because I'm already like 52% of the way to my goal. I'm 10 books ahead of schedule, so I like to I like to just spend time outside. If I did not have this backyard that I have, I don't know how I would survive this quarantine stuff. I really
I'm sure. What are you currently reading?
The cover's torn off, which is kind of funny, but I am reading, you'll love this. Whoop, can you see
Anne
it?
Rice?
Oh,
Witching Hour? Anne Rice, Witching Hour.
Yes.
Gotcha. That's not your first go at that book, though.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
This was a used book I got from somewhere. I'm on page 26. Last night I finished off the Wish Crafter series.
Okay.
It's a cozy mysteries by Heather Blake, and they're really cute. But I've had 3 of those left to read, so I finished those in the past 3 days. This is going to take a lot longer because it is 1,000 pages, but I have this whole series too.
Okay.
So I've been reading all the shorter books, and that's put me well past my where I'm way ahead of my goal for my so I'm like, okay, it's time to start reading a few of the longer ones now. But I have really enjoyed being able to get through my bookshelf.
Oh, I'm sure. So is this your writing space we're looking at?
One of them, the main one.
The main.
This is, behind me is my little office that, when did we redo the room? I can't even remember when that was.
It was last year.
February?
It was
last year?
I think so. End of last year or
no, it was beginning of this year.
Okay. Yes, time has no meaning.
It was after Christmas.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. But yeah, so I used to have this giant, huge brown wood corner desk. And, well, first of all, it was given to me by my stepbrother. that I'm not close to, not happy with. Anything else. Didn't like the way he treated my parents when they were alive, so I've really had like no contact with them since they're gone. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the desk. It was claustrophobic feeling and everything else. So the desk I have now is really tiny. It was $5 from Goodwill, and I literally spent like $100 on paint and everything else to stencil it and make it pretty. But I like doing that too. I like to do weird things with furniture. I'm not very good at it, honestly. I know I'm not good at it, but I do it anyway.
Are you happy with it?
I'm happy with it. Exactly. I wouldn't try to sell it, but I'm happy with it. For me, it's good. So now too, though, since it's nice, I like to write on the deck.
Okay.
Because when I write, I will do this. I use little notebooks and I will write, and then I will come back later and type everything up.
Okay.
Sometimes I do sit, obviously, and type, but I'm old school. I am so old school. I like the paper and the pen, and I'm sitting out on the deck, and I can sit there and smoke a bowl and read some of my book and then be like, oh wait, and then I'll go and I'll write something, and then I'll go back to reading. And so right now I'm does the Oracle deck. That's what this is, my Oracle deck notes.
Okay. So does the weed help with your creativity?
Oh my God, so much so. Not only does it help with creativity, one of the articles I plan on writing at some point is about channeling.
Okay.
I don't know how much of the books I've written and how much somebody else told me to write. I honestly don't. And I never thought about that until years ago. I was having a reading by a good friend of mine, and she said something about, gosh, I totally forgot about that. She said something about I was going to be writing something, and this was like probably 5 years ago, that was going to be, there was going to be a lot more coming out in my writing.
Okay.
And at the time, I'm just like, yeah, I don't see that happening at all. But she said something about me channeling when I write. And at the time, I was kind of like, what? No, I don't. Yeah, I do. I don't know if I realized I was doing it. I don't know. I didn't know that's what I was doing before. I can't even tell you how much of my writing at this point previously was like that, and how much was channeled and how much was me. I would definitely say the first things I wrote, as far as I know, that was all me. But I know some of the meditations, and especially with the 420, I would go back and kind of glance over at some stuff, because we have like a weird system the way I did this. And like I said, I'm old school. I literally had a piece of paper that had like the month, and then a list of all the days. And when I was finished with one, I would check it off. And I skipped around. I didn't start January and go through January and February, March. I would, whatever I felt like writing that day, I'm like, okay, I need to do this or I need to do that. And I would skip around and keep track of where I was at. Then I would kind of go back and make sure I was keeping track of everything right. And I would find that there was a bunch I forgot to check off. And that's generally when I would be really high. And I'd go and read some of them. And I don't remember writing them.
Okay.
Don't remember them. So that part,
I get it. I get it. I totally get it.
And it's like I knew I could channel.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I learned when I was 16 playing with the spirit board.
Right.
that was the first thing I learned was that, oh, I can channel. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to see that, yeah, I probably do that in a bit of my writing. And when, like if I'm doing a Llewellyn's almanac or something, they say, okay, do you want to do this? I have these categories open. What ideas do you have that would fit into those categories? And sometimes I come up with great ones and sometimes I don't.
So when you're writing, do you have music going, candles, or are you just old school and paper and pen and that's it?
It depends. I do like to have music going. I don't have like any specific playlist I use. I use things that are like either, like new agey music, yoga music, pagan music. I listen to a lot, but I do like to keep it more things that don't have words that I know.
Okay.
If I start putting on songs that have words that I know, I'll start singing, and I won't be focused on what I'm doing. Yeah, I can't. It's more with the weed too. It really, I'll just start singing.
Well, I mean, when I first started writing, it was all about, I like to write to instrumentals. I mean, there would be some regular songs, but now each book has their Spotify playlist that I've created, and that suits those characters, and that's their music.
Yes, and I know a lot of people who do that, and I do like to write with my candles lit, especially if I'm writing at night. If I'm writing at night, I light up a couple of candles on my desk, I put my music on, and I chill.
Nothing wrong with that. So let's stick you on an island. What do you need to entertain yourself?
On an island.
On an island, yeah.
What would I like to entertain myself? Fishing pole.
A fishing pole?
Or no, you know what? No, we'll go with a net.
Well, I mean, you can bring a fishing pole. You can bring a couple of items. I mean, I'm not going to just drop you off.
If I have a net, I'm pretty good because I used to go fishing as a kid, but I also taught all of our kids, Mike's kids, my kids, we took them fishing, and I taught them how to not just throw a hook on a line and throw it in the water and hope a fish is hungry. I taught them how to go under the water and grab the fish.
Okay.
Because
but you can only fish.
Worry if they're hungry.
You can fish to eat. That's perfect. But what are you going to do to entertain yourself?
What am I going to do? Well, I kind of find fishing entertaining too.
Okay. No. I mean,
if I could have books, that would be great. But especially if it's at night, I can sleep during the day underneath a palm tree as long as I can look up at the stars at night.
Okay.
That can keep me entertained for hours just staring at stars.
I mean, I used to go fishing with my dad, and it's not that I'm a girly girl, but fishing is just not. Nah. I once got a hook in my nose.
Oh man, that would hurt.
We were in a boat, and the hook was swinging back and forth, and I was trying to get it, and it got right in there in my nose.
I'm gonna say I've been caught, but not at the nose.
He got it out before I did any damage, but yeah, it was not nice. No, not nice. So fishing is not my forte. That's not,
I don't get to do it near as much as I'd like. If I could have my dream space, my dream location would be a cabin on water.
Okay.
I would prefer it to be like a river with maybe a area where an inlet, so that you have a nice little area, but then you have the river too.
Okay.
When I was a kid, we had a cab, or not a cabin, it was a trailer actually on the river growing up, and I would love to have something like that someday.
You could always get a fishing camp in New Orleans, right off the lake. But I don't know that they really have.
I don't know if I want one in New Orleans, man. First of all, I mean, I have not fished in New Orleans yet, but hot. I imagine it's really hot to fish there.
I mean, we used to go in the 70s, and before my dad owned a boat, we would go on he would rent these little skiffs, and we'd go out near Chalmette and go fishing, and it we were at this old battlefield. You'll appreciate this. And I got my hook caught on the shell. Like they built these walls out of shells, which were awesome. I mean, it's incredible.
I've heard of this place. I know what you're talking about.
So my dad's like, well, get up on the ledge. And now, mind you, I am a swimmer. I have all these swimming certificates and everything. So I get up on the ledge. I am sunburned already too, by the way. And so I get up on the ledge and I lose my balance and I scrape my whole side of my leg up and I am flailing in the water like I can't swim. And my dad just yells at me and he's like, stand up. Just stand up. The water's like to my waist. I was maybe, I guess, about 11 or 12.
Yeah. We had certain areas in the river we were allowed to swim in. My dad, when he was a kid, and this is, it would have been 1931. He fell in a well at the house. And his sister jumped in the well and kept him afloat until they were able to get them both out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he has been scared of being in water that's above his head his entire life.
I can imagine.
And so he had specific areas in the river where we were allowed to go swimming. And, as a kid, I always thought it seemed like it was so deep and everything. And then I was looking at pictures and the water was like up to my mom, or like almost up to her chest. And I'm sitting here thinking, how on earth was it that the water was up to my mom's chest, but it was like up to our waist? She was sitting on her butt in the river and I never realized it. Until I'm sitting here staring at this picture over, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And she would just sit literally right in the river with us playing around her because it was that shallow she could.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned how to swim. My dad threw us in the water and said, you better swim.
I mean, we used to go swimming in the bayou too at my uncle's house. So, swimming there, it's like I got sent to summer camp so I can learn how to swim properly because
I kissed a gator once, but I don't know if I want to go fishing where they're at.
Well, they didn't know that there was a gate. They didn't know there was an alligator in the bayou for a long time. We swam there for years, and all of a sudden it's like
Louisiana.
Well, here, what's not only alligators though? There's water moccasins. We were swimming with freaking water moccasins.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is devolving really quickly. So, what's your favorite movie of all time?
That is so hard to answer.
Okay, 2 favorite movies.
I love the Star Wars movies. I will always love the Star Wars movies. I love the Indiana Jones movies. I like the Star Wars movies and the Indiana Jones movies that other people don't like.
Okay. You see Princess Leia's right back here.
Yes. And do I have one you can see probably behind? No, my Star Wars stuff is up there. You can't really see it. But I have, can you see my resistance? You can see the bottom of it.
I did, yeah.
That was from
Nice.
PJ.
Okay.
PJ got me that out at, where did he get it? ASIN? Something. C2E2?
Okay.
Probably C2E2. But yeah, so I do love all my Star Wars. But every year for my birthday, we watch The Mists of Avalon.
Okay.
And it has gotten to the point where it's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 while we watch The Mists of Avalon. But it's funny. I mean, I think most of my friends and I now, we all know pretty much the entire movie by heart.
Okay. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I wouldn't.
Well, that's an honest answer. That is an honest answer.
I have no idea.
Okay. Fair enough.
I really don't, because it's like,
It's very hard because it's a hard question because you don't want to come across narcissistic for one. And if you're not comfortable talking about yourself.
would say I am outgoing.
Yeah.
That's what people, they always say, I'm outgoing, I'm organized.
But you don't see those qualities, do you?
Somewhat, but it's like not all the time.
Uh-huh.
You know, I am probably the world's greatest procrastinator.
My mother gave me a t-shirt that said Destination Procrastination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I made it through high school and college. I mean, I graduated both with honors, but I was that kid who was involved in so much other stuff in high school that homework was not my main focus. The extracurricular was my main focus. And when I was in college, I had 3 kids. So, I mean, I did my schoolwork, I graduated with honors, but I was the one who, oh, okay, you have a paper due in a month. Okay, no, now that paper's due in 2 weeks. Okay, now that paper's due in a week. Maybe you should get started on it, but at 10 o'clock the night before it's due,
yeah,
is when I do my best work.
Yeah.
I work well under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I have always worked well under pressure. I work far better under pressure than I do when I'm not under pressure. If I'm not being stressed out, I don't do near as good a job. And I think that kind of drives my husband nuts because I think he has finally learned that. I used to do the PTO variety show, if you can imagine. I was the chairperson of the Johnsburg PTO variety show for 9 years.
Wow, I did not know that.
And it would have been 10 years, but I took 1 year off and then I came back. When I wanted to do it, I was going to have the kids try out, and the year that I was going to have them try out, they canceled the show because they didn't have enough interest. And I'm like, how? So the next year I said, you know what, I'm going to get involved in the PTO. I'm going to start doing all of this stuff. I'm going to be that mom. And I was that mom. I chaired like 7 different major events for PTO. Technically, you were only supposed to do 2, but nobody else was doing anything. So I ran Breakfast with Santa. I did the variety show. I did the Spring Fling Carnival crap. I mean, I did all kinds of stuff.
That's a lot.
And I had never done anything. I mean, I had done play productions, but I had never done anything like a variety show before. And when I started asking them about, okay, well, maybe I'm interested in doing this, let me ask you some questions about it, they basically said, you can do whatever you want. We don't care. We just want a show. And I started looking over the few notes they had, and they were spending thousands of dollars to do this show. Thousands. And I said, okay, well, I'll do it on one condition. And they said, well, what? And I said, I want to do it as a fundraiser, not as something that's costing the PTO thousands of dollars. Because that's what I had gone to school for. That's what I had been working towards at my, I was a special events coordinator at my job. And I ended up leaving my job about a year after Mike and I got married, I ended up leaving the job because it was just too hard trying to find daycare for 7 kids.
Wow.
So I lost my career and became PTO mom instead.
Understand.
And they said, okay, do whatever you want. We don't care. And I looked over the way they had been doing things, and it was chaos. Just utter chaos. You don't tell an entire school district. We're talking 2,000 kids. It's a small school district, but still. Pre-K to grade 12, it was about 2,000 kids in the school, a little over 2,000 total. Schools, I should say. At that point, there were 5 of them. They've crammed them down to only a few now, but there were 5 schools then. You can't say to them, okay, on Tuesday nights and Thursday night, between 5 and 7, show up for your audition and we'll have pizza.
No.
And that's what they were doing. and they were spending hundreds of dollars on pizzas for kids that would show up and eat the pizza, weren't there to try out. People would show up whenever they wanted to try out. So you might have people standing around for a long time waiting, and then you'd have 50 kids all of a sudden. And I'm like, no, I don't do things like that. Every kid got scheduled 5 minutes apart.
Nice. Nice.
And the first year, we had 300 kids try out.
Wow.
300.
So you had no interest, but then it was really just a fallacy that there was a lot of interest, but
Yeah.
they weren't doing it properly.
Yeah. 300 kids. I had to turn half of them away.
Wow.
And after that, I'm like, I felt terrible that I had to turn kids away. So after that, I'm like, there's got to be other things I can do with those kids. And I found ways to work them in where you have, when you do something like that, you have what's called a natural break.
Mm-hmm.
So you tally up scores of these kids and you'll see, okay, these acts all got this great number of scores. And then all of a sudden, they go down, and then there's a big gap. And these are the kids who didn't do too great in their act. So if you have a kid that wants to be in a show and they come out and they try to sing a song and they are unfortunately god awful,
Mm-hmm.
do you put them on a stage? And I would have parents get mad at me that I was not going to put their child on the stage. And I would turn around and get mad at those parents and say, why do you want to hurt your kid?
Because they want to crush their dream.
Why do you want to embarrass your child? I am not going to embarrass your child. I will not allow your child to be embarrassed in my show. I know that other kids are mean.
Right.
I understand that. We talk with them about what was wrong, what it was they needed to fix, if we thought it was fixable so that we could put them on. Otherwise, I included them in other ways. You can't screw up running around on a stage carrying a sign.
No.
But you can have a lot of fun.
Right.
And people realized, wow, she's serious about this. And I think that's one of the reasons why our shows were so popular, is because we included kids that otherwise would not have been included.
They still got to feel special without being humiliated.
Yeah. And it got to the point where we found out, and we'd sell out our shows. We found out that, in the first year, I made $2,200 doing the show.
Nice.
Yeah. Their other schools' PTO people started coming to our shows to steal our ideas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then after I finally quit, they've never had a show there again.
That's unfortunate.
It is. I think it's terrible. I think it's absolutely terrible that nobody picked up the reins, because it's been a decade. It's been a decade and they haven't had a show.
Wow. I got another question for you. If you can invite 3 people to dinner, who would it be and what would you serve?
Oh, what would I serve? Well, shit.
Well, you can always have it catered. I mean, that's a simple answer there. It's more about the 3 people.
And I was thinking the other day of one of them, and I can't remember now who it even was. Who was it? If I could have 3 people to dinner. Oh my gosh, I just thought of something terrible. Now, can I have these people for dinner and poison them?
I did not put that in there. It's just a basic question. I will not be responsible for any ill will to anybody, because I know somebody would like to do. But, this hypothetical question is supposed to be a positive, fun question, not anything dark.
Who? One of them would have to be Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
I have always loved Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
would invite President Obama.
Okay.
I would love to sit and talk to that man. I read Becoming, and after reading what Michelle wrote, I'd love, I mean, either one of them. If he can't make it, she can come. But I don't want to give up both spots.
Understand.
Only one of them could come. But then I was thinking of somebody the other day, and now I can't even remember who it was. Who was it?
Timothy Leary keeps popping in my head, and I don't think that's it, but.
Who?
Timothy Leary?
No, it was somebody that I was thinking of that would just be totally floored about this whole situation with the pandemic, and now I can't think who the heck it was. Not alive, gone.
Well, yeah.
I cannot for the life of me remember who it was, but I was thinking that would be a cool person to talk to. So who else? Let's see.
FDR would be a pretty amazing person to
he would be.
Not saying you have to. I'm just thinking about where we are right now
You know
and where
what?
he walked into.
If I could have a private dinner, it would be Alexander Skarsgård. But if I have to have three, there's no way I am inviting Marilyn Monroe to a dinner with Alexander Skarsgård. No.
It could get interesting. It could get very interesting. Actually, I think Marilyn Monroe and Obama would be very interesting because I could see her, she wasn't stupid. I mean, if you know Marilyn, you know that.
Yeah.
So I think she'd find Obama very fascinating.
Oh, I think she would too. I really think she would. But wait, who did I just say?
Skarsgård?
No, I just thought of somebody and I don't remember now who I said.
Oh crap! I'm sorry.
That's too funny. Who did I just say? How did my brain? This is how it works some days. It just doesn't.
I get it. Some days it's not there. Some days it's there.
George Lucas.
Okay.
George Lucas. Yeah. That was in high school. George Lucas was like my lifetime goal. I was going to marry George Lucas. We were going to make movies together, beautiful movies together.
Yeah, you could ask him what exactly was his vision for the last 3 Star Wars movies.
Was not what it is.
No, and I mean, I love the Zahn books. I absolutely adore the Zahn books. They were awesome books. But, here we are.
And that's the other thing I have to start reading again is I got to go back and find all the Star Wars books that I have missed over the past decade and read all of those, which they're all in my kids' room, so I can find them easily.
That's pretty easy then. So you're going to just recap this real quick. So you have the meditation book coming out next year.
Yes.
You're working on an oracle deck to go in the series. You're working on a journal to go in the series. You're working on a CBD book. And you're working on a kid's book.
Yes.
Does that about cover it? Oh, and you have a fictional book that you're...
Yes, my Nola Witch.
Yeah.
That's literally what it's called right now is Nola Witch because I have no name for it.
So if the folks that watch this, if they can make it through this whole thing, it's going to be a lot. Hopefully it's a fun one. If they can, where would they find you on social media?
The best way to find me is to go to my webpage, which is kerriconnor.com. Let's spell it. Because nobody spells this name right. That is the name. kerriconnor.com. And it has the links to everything. It has the Facebook, the Instagram, I think there's a Twitter one, YouTube, Etsy, because we have all of the wake, bake, and meditate goodies.
Nice.
Up on Etsy now. We have water bottles, coffee cups, the book. You can order the book there if you want a signed copy, t-shirts, and handy dandy little notebooks.
Nice. Well, anything you want to add before we close this out?
This was fun.
It was fun, yeah. It was a lot of fun. Well, I thank you for taking the time to talk to me and letting me into your world, even though I already knew a little bit about your world. But, and folks, she likes to host murder mystery parties.
Yes.
We had one killer one, before this all started, which was pretty awesome. And hopefully,
I cannot wait for the day
yeah,
that we can do that again.
yeah.
I really want to be able to do an outside one. I used to have one about a vineyard. I'll have to see if I can find the vineyard one.
I mean, I hit my stride middle of that whole thing. Once I got out of my comfort zone, I was okay. It was just the nerves.
We've done like, I want to say like probably 5 of them now.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that other one, they were all for Mardi Gras.
Okay.
They were all Mardi Gras themed. So the prom one was different. I do want to eventually make my own. And you know what I really want to do? I want to do some year for Lugnazid. I want to use the tent and make a pagan themed escape room.
I'm sure there are a lot of people that would go to that.
Yeah, it's what I want to do that one year. You know, and I just thought of something. We were talking about it earlier. You asked me if I consider myself a high priestess.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I used to, but I don't anymore. When we write up our rituals, we go by like ritual leader sometimes is what is said in there. But what I prefer at this point in my life to consider myself is a spiritual host.
Nice. I do like that.
A guide is somebody who comes out, or somebody who guides you through a certain pathway. I do not claim anything at this point other than I am pagan. And I am pagan in the very true sense of the word. I am a country dweller.
Okay.
That's what it originally meant, was a country dweller. I am a country dweller. I believe in multiple deities and a connection with the universe. But instead of telling people to go and do things the way I do things, or to see things the way I see them, or to worship the deities I worship, and we do this in the Gathering group. Everybody in our group is different. We have Wiccans, we have Druids, we have all kinds of different things, people who don't know what they are. We have Christians who come to our group. We always laugh about, we have the token Catholic. There's always like a token Catholic who's part of the group. As a host, instead of a guide, a host lets you do your own thing and just sets it up so that you can. Whereas a guide wants to take you through their path. To me, right. A host helps you go through your own path. So I consider myself a host. I'm the hostess with the most.
There is one thing, actually, now I'm going to add this because I have to. In the last days of Barnes, there was a story that happened. Well, not really a story that happened, but a customer returned a book.
Oh my God, you're talking about Romeo and Juliet. Obviously, that's still fresh in my memory. You want me to tell the story of Romeo and Juliet?
Yes, because I was listening, Don't Fear the Reaper, and there it is, Romeo and Juliet. And I'm like, I thought of you. I'm like.
That is one of my favorite songs, too, honestly. More cowbell. When we were closing Barnes & Noble, we had the red dot clearance sale, or white dot, or whatever color it was. I guess we switched to white eventually. If it was on clearance, because the store was closing, it was non-returnable. And I had sold a couple of books to a woman, and she came back 2 days later and wanted to return one of the books because it...
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, spoiler alert. It promoted a double suicide.
She said she wasn't too surprised that it was in there, you told me.
Yeah, it promoted it. She was shocked it was in there. She could not believe this was in there. And when I looked at the book, it was freaking Romeo and Juliet.
What do you say to that, you know?
The woman, I told her I can't return it because it's clearance. And she started, I mean, that was the whole thing. She started with, I know you can't take these back, but. And so I told her I couldn't take them back. And then she started in with the, I've been shopping here for 30 years.
Which the store hasn't been there that long.
Store had only been there for 20, so I knew that was bull. And I'm just like, you know what? I can do this. I could really handle this woman if I want to. I don't want to right now. So when she started saying something about, I don't remember how she put it. It was something about who knew this was going to be in here or something like that. And I said, well, it is 200 years old. So kind of everybody. And at that point, I very seldom will smart off to a customer. I don't. I'm the one who will sit there and deal with the difficult customers because I know they don't really mean anything in the broad spectrum of life. So I'm usually really good about them. This woman, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I called for a manager.
Well, I mean, how many movies have been made about Romeo and Juliet?
And it's Romeo and Juliet. I mean, it's not even how many movies. There's plays, there's TV shows, there's books. But to claim to be a well-read reader and to not know that there is a double suicide in Romeo and Juliet, you're not a well-read reader.
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of people who know that's what happens who have not read it.
But
they at least know that's what happens. That was weird.
It was very weird. And I mean, for somebody not to realize that, you know, after all the movies and everything that's been out, it's just kind of crazy.
It is. And it's, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure those are the same people, though, that she's probably out there somewhere saying she needs a haircut, open up.
And not wearing a mask. Anyway, well, I thank you again, like I said, for doing this. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and it's, you know, nice to be able to sit down with a friend, of course. And, you know, when you got a book to promote and everything, it's been a blast to do this. So I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to do this.
Oh, I thank you for doing it. But it's fun. We get to learn such new things these days.